Hey guys, this is Sean DeGray. Nobody knows who that is, but it's me.
And you are listening to
The Gritty Bowman.
It's all in perspective, right? If you could make $150,000 a year, but you had to work 80 hours a week and you were committed to a corporation that you hated what you did, is that more lucrative than making $70,000 a year doing what you love with a lot of free time? And who's richer?
One of the things I never want to say, and I even think this with life, is I never want to say, like, what if? Like, what? I hate that. I hate that feeling. What if I would have done this? Or what if I would have just tried this? Or what if? What if? And there's very few things that I say what if about. Very few things. And that gives me a lot of peace of mind. So that helps give me drive, because I don't want to ever say what if.
Randy always says this, you're going to run out of health before you run out of money.
There's a lot of blood in the water. I'm looking down, and I'm in a cloud of redness. I'm trying to get their attention, and all of a sudden, I feel this boom. I get shoved on my right side, and I know what it is, and I literally headbutt the shark. I can just remember having his eyeball literally inches away from my face, his hand or my hand in his mouth, and what is this going to mean? I got to get well, right? I got to shoot a bow in less than 2 months.
Dude, I like the way you think. It's going to suck when you take it out.
Correct.
Dude.
That's exactly
scar
what
tissue. It's not going to move right.
Yeah.
It's going to be, muscles are going to shrink into oblivion.
You
still kind of have a girly baby T-Rex arm.
Hey, man, easy. Easy, dude.
All right, folks. Welcome to the Gritty Bowman podcast. I'm cruising back to Colorado from my turkey hunt in Texas. And look at those antelope. They're hauling.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, they're running. Bucks are running each other.
Yeah. But yeah, we're almost back to Evergreen, Colorado, back to home. I'm here with Mike Massey. Mike and I spent the week hunting turkeys in Texas, and got to know Mike fairly well. And he's a fascinating dude. And so, Mike.
Yeah, man.
I want you to tell the audience about getting bit by a shark, not once, but twice.
Yeah, it's
kind of a wild story.
It doesn't happen too often, and I don't know what you want to call it, but I don't know. I know it didn't feel good, so you call it what you want.
Mike was supposed to catch a plane today from Texas back to Florida, where he's from. But
yeah, somehow something got misplaced and plans got turned around, and I think I was so focused on some things we call turkey that I think it might have slipped the mind a little bit.
Trying to kill turkey, and he left his wallet in Sloan's truck, and Sloan drove back to Colorado. So then we had to do some quick maneuvering and
changing of flights, and
Sloan dropped the wallet off at my house. We're going to stop off at my house, grab Mike's wallet, take him to the airport.
It's always interesting.
Tonight, so you can get home by tomorrow morning.
5:30 a.m. Going to be a nice red eye.
But you just kind of make do and find a way around stuff.
It just works. I think I try to live life that way. It is what it is. What you can do, what you could do. I already admitted defeat today, so I didn't want to admit anything else, but I blamed it on Sloan. I basically said Sloan knew my wallet was in there, and he just decided to take it and think it was his. But no, we got to roll with it. No reason to get upset. Just another reason to spend a little bit of time with you and roll out. And hey, I wanted to fly out of Denver.
So tell me this. We just finished this turkey hunt. What was your impression of the turkey? You've been on a lot of turkey hunts.
Yeah, it's been, I want to say I've been on about 20-some turkey hunts. I've probably had 20 days in the field already. Our season starts down in Florida, South Florida. There it is the South Zone starts March 3rd, and we start the week prior with youth season. So I was actually I actually took a couple youth. I like to try to get anybody I can out in the woods, and we had a couple young guys on the and gal get out there and get their first turkey this year. So it was really cool. But I've been out there. This to experience this ranch was it was the first time hunting Texas. So I arrived and I'm like, wow, it's desolate. I mean, it's what you think of some barren Texas ground. And I'm talking, you could count the roost trees on your hand. So we quickly made the game plan and got some stuff together and found some birds. And it was tough. It was you get these birds in certain situations, similar to the rut. It's when it's hot, it's hot. When it's not, when they're locked down, this is like they call this henned up. And they just weren't cooperating. But we didn't know that. We didn't know that after the first hour or two of our hunt. Mm-hmm. It got pretty red hot, and we had that one bird come firing in from 400 yards, gobbling the whole way, literally running. And we quickly changed our minds on how they how this was going to turn out.
What did we do right, and what did we do wrong?
So I think what we did right, for one, is we took the time. We were going to scout. We were in a position to not even really. I mean, look, you can be anywhere. If you're even 4 or 5, you could be half a mile from the roost. You just depends on how long you want to sit. Mm-hmm. But we were in a position of observation the first morning, and we knew after our first hunt, we'd scanned the entire area. We found some roost trees, and we're like, you know what? We talked about it, and definitely decided this was our best option. Sit up high, take a look, see what we got, and see what these birds doing. This time of year, early season, and that's something you can tell when you look at a roost. If all the birds hang together and flock together, they're going to do this same routine. Yet, generally speaking, it's a pattern that you can capitalize on. So that's the one thing we did right, for sure. Wrong? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know if we did anything wrong. I would say if we did something wrong, and we really didn't have an option. We were there with all our buddies. Mm-hmm. I mean, we had the Mountain House crew there. Sloan Brown from Backbone Media, Mike from Field and Stream. It was a
Mountain House.
Mountain House. It was a party.
Mountain Ops.
It was a party in there. Yeah, you could say Mountain House too, or somebody said Brokeback Mountain. I mean, there was a few things going on this weekend, but that's what kind of crew we had, and you couldn't be selfish with that. The game plan was to get birds. Didn't matter who or what. Mm-hmm. And if you want to say we did something wrong, that's kind of you can put that in that category. We bombarded these birds in 3 days.
Yeah.
I think they saw every decoy on the market, heard every mouth call, slate call, box call. So I think that was it.
Yeah, we just sort of did a shotgun approach, I guess, where we just sort of put people on every corner and every trail on this, and there's only one little stand of trees. It's the roost tree, and we tried to cover every exit and entrance, and it worked.
That's the truth. It did work.
I mean, that one day they shot at 3 birds, killed 2, and the birds came in multiple times. There were times where they came in and they didn't get a shot because the birds ran off. More birds came. Something like 25 birds throughout from like 2 o'clock to dark came by those guys, and it was just a mad rush of birds. It was a hot day of bird hunting. Yeah. Pretty much after that, though, the birds were blown.
They were on to us.
There was night and day difference from that day to the next 3 days.
And you could tell. I mean, you could instantly tell their reaction. As soon as they saw the decoys, it was a different... We had an experience. Everything that we saw before that, these birds were coming in, right? I mean, they were on it.
They had never seen the sex machine decoy,
right?
Or the one where the
this is a DSD, the new Jake, the mating pair.
Mating pair.
Right.
They're mating. You got a little string that you tug on, and he bobs up and down like he's on a hen.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that we did the next day. They'd never seen that one. They came over and raged. Three toms flew down and attacked it. Like, we got some cool video of that.
Yeah, that would happen so quick.
They were mad. They came on strong, dude. Just boom, and they smacked it.
And that's something to say about that. For me, I love a decoy coming in there. let them take their time, let them strut, let them beat the decoy up. And, I haven't put this in front of any birds at all yet. I literally just got this right before the trip.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see how that was going to react. And it may act differently. But I tell you what, these 3 toms that came in, they were red hot on
I
it.
watched the video last night because I actually could not see the action.
Right.
And we had David DeAustin in a blind opposite us. So he had a totally different viewpoint than us, and he was filming this thing go down. And, man, they ran from a long way away before they took flight.
It was quick.
I mean, they ran like 30 yards. Like, they locked on, and I'm going to have to watch the video to see what their behavior was before, but it seems like they saw it, and they just started running.
It was on. It was by the time.
And there was a ravine.
Yeah,
and as soon as they hit the ravine, rather than run through it down and up, they just flew over it, and they literally landed and just attacked the decoy.
Yeah, it was hot, and that's not
which
what you
was
want.
super
right?
cool. I was like, oh my gosh, awesome!
Experience wise, it's awesome. If they would have settled down, it'd been even better. Bow hunting is a totally different scenario when you're turkey hunting. You got to place the shot. These birds are tough. You've got a very small, vital shot, and to successfully harvest those turkey, and you got to put them down.
Yeah, I think I've heard the wound rate on turkeys with a bow is something
It's pretty
like
rough.
50%.
Yeah,
like 1 out of 2 gets found. Or
I would say
like that.
it's probably
like,
less than that, to be honest with you. But yeah,
it's a small. You're like aiming for a grapefruit.
Yeah, it is, but and that, especially if they're strutting. I mean, you gotta find that grapefruit. That's your
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because the grapefruit's buried somewhere in there among all these feathers.
That's right.
And when the feathers are down and compressed,
right,
where you aim is a little maybe easier to find out. But when the feathers stick up,
absolutely,
you're like, where do I put?
Yeah.
And if you aim like center of center, you may not hit anything important.
No. Yeah, well, you might wound that bird, right? And he's flying. I mean, he's flying off. You'll never find these things. I've seen them tuck themselves into crevices that you could never imagine. I mean, it is a survival animal. It's really incredible.
That really was something I was struggling with, was figuring out where do I aim on this bird. Like, where do you put the arrow? And I looked at so many diagrams. I had Matt Davis down there from Mountain Ops, and Matt's hunted turkeys a number of times. Killed, I think he's killed like 7 or 8 with his trad bow.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's very impressive.
With his recurve, and so I'm like,
super cool.
Matt, he's showing me pictures, diagrams, where I'm looking at the anatomy and trying to figure out where to put it. It's a little tricky, and we got into this discussion in camp on where a guy should aim at a turkey, right? And it's interesting. You and Jordan both.
Yeah.
You aim at the legs.
I follow the legs up is what I do. It's the easiest thing for me. I always try to draw these lines, and the tip of the wing, there's a point of the heart is right behind that wing bone. Mm-hmm. I've lost a lot of birds, and I don't think anybody likes to wound any animals. I mean, so even a bird or not. I mean, it's it's something that you spend all this time getting in front of them, and you put all this work in. And you're having all this fun with your buddies out in the woods, and you then you shoot this thing. So that's like icing on the cake, and then you can't find it.
Yeah.
So I switch it around. I've been switching around now for a couple years.
How many guys do you know that do that versus, aiming at the heart and lungs kind of shot? I
say it's a 50-50, honestly. Mm-hmm. I do have buddies. That's all they'll do. This year I had incredible success. I was in Nebraska, and I a good buddy of mine, Ryan Smith, go up there every year, and I follow the legs up, 3 for 3 this year.
I have no idea on this topic.
Yeah,
exactly. I suppose it's probably highly controversial whether you aim there or you aim at the heart and lungs or whatever.
Right.
I have no idea whatsoever on this as far as people's stance on it being ethical or unethical or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I can say and we haven't talked about this. I haven't mentioned this at all to you, by the way. So people are listening. This is like just sprung on Mike here. But I've been wondering, all weekend, you know, what shot will I take and where to go? Well, when Jordan shot, he shot a nice Jake, and then he shot a big Tom. Beautiful, big Tom.
Big spurred bird. Beautiful bird.
And when he shot that bird, both of them, he shot them right up there in the drumsticks, basically.
That's right. Yeah.
Right in the drumsticks.
Yep.
And you had been talking about that earlier, you know, with me. I didn't know that's kind of how Jordan rolls too.
Yeah.
But it comes from experience, that shot selection, where Jordan has lost a number of birds and you have lost some birds, where you're aiming at the breast and the heart and lungs, which is a small target, versus the legs. Because one thing I did notice is in full strut or not in full strut, if I take my aiming point and I just follow the legs up, and when I look at an anatomy chart, I can see those drumsticks. And if you go too high, you're actually in like the heart and lungs area.
That's exactly. You might be a little far back behind it, but it's
still like critical.
I still think you're able to clip some lungs with that shot. So following those legs is a pretty, unless you go, depending on the bird, if he's in strut or he's not in strut. But if you follow it up, the only thing you can do is too high in that shot. And too high is, generally speaking, if they're strutting, they've got about 4 inches of back feathers. And when you hit that, there's nothing there. But other than that, you're going to hit and wound that bird to be able to recover him, in my experience.
If you follow the legs up and you hit too high, you're hitting nothing.
That's
the
correct.
bird escapes with its life.
That's right.
Anything along that leg,
down there below,
you're hitting spine, you're hitting drumsticks, you're hitting vitals.
Yep, there's a little bit.
There's just kind of everything's deadly.
Yeah,
it looked like on the diagrams. So you either like take its legs out and it falls over and you can finish it off,
right?
Or you hit it in some vitals and it's just dead, or you break its spine, or it escapes.
Kind of a win-win situation.
Yeah,
you know,
it kind of is. It's kind of, it looked like it to me.
Jordan's was a perfect example.
I got to see Jordan's two birds, which I hadn't seen. He's like, I was curious where he shot him, right?
Yep.
So we went over there and he showed me. And do you know what broadhead he was using?
You know, I can't say I do.
It was expandable.
It had to be
mechanical.
Expandable by looking at the wound.
I think it was. I think it was like a rage.
It could have been
hypodermic or a rage.
Yeah, I don't know, but I tell you what, it.
But either way,
definitely clipped.
It wasn't mechanical.
Yeah,
it wasn't a fixed blade. And I've let's get into that in a minute. But I've heard fixed blade for turkey or mechanical is really the way to go with turkey.
Oh man, yeah, I like it.
And so Jordan shot it, and both birds he clipped at the top of the drumsticks, basically.
Yeah,
and it just severed the bones, the ligaments, the tendons, and hit the bottom of the body cavity.
Yep.
And vital innards fell out, and the bird instantly fell, like legs were gone.
Yeah.
And
I can't get away without legs. Can't fly.
Yeah, I was like, well, I was this is how naive and like un-turkey educated I am. I'm like, Mike, but dude, don't you want to hit the wing? Because, you know, you hit the legs and they'll just fly away. And I've learned since then that turkeys can't fly unless their legs are present. It's like they just have too big a body. They can't get the lift off the ground. It's like a giant jet without enough runway.
They'll sit there.
They'll just sit there and flap. Yeah.
Can't do it without those things.
So it's actually, I had no idea. So you hit those legs, and that bird cannot get off the ground.
His running gear
he just sits there and flaps.
Shut down. Yeah,
and then you can just go over there and...
Yeah, well, generally speaking, and if he sit there and flap for a little bit, usually they quickly pass. They don't last. They bleed out quite quick.
Right. That's the thing. I mean, I looked at the devastation. You're cutting like
there's a lot of stuff.
A lot of blood vessels and veins, and they're just like.
Yeah, it's it.
But they flap for a couple minutes. You got to.
Yeah.
They flap for a couple minutes, for a minute or two.
Yeah, they do. They do.
And when you take that shot, but that gets you shots at more birds.
Well, and that's exactly right. So, generally speaking, if he's with a subordinate, if that was the dominant Tom or even a subordinate, they come in there and you take them out. Generally, another gobbler sees that bird flopping on the ground. It's a very dominant action to take to come over and just absolutely beat the heck out of the wounded bird. They're like, yeah, I got you now. I mean, it's a hierarchy thing. So there's your opportunity at, generally speaking, another
That's
bird.
what happened to Jordan is he shot the legs out. They fell on the ground. They're flapping like, and the other birds just come over and attack it.
Yeah.
And then he's getting another arrow out to take down another bird. And by the time the other bird's out, it's just another minute, and he's got 2 birds.
Yeah.
It's dead. So it's pretty quick.
Yep.
Especially, I've heard Aaron Snyder has told me his turkey hunting stories. And it sounds like with the recurve, he's lost a lot of birds where he hits them somewhere, and it's fatal. But they run into the bush, and they go and go and go and go and die 200 yards away in the bush. And they're little and then you don't recover it even though you've killed it. So to me it seems like, not a bad idea with the leg shot. I don't know enough about it. I'll have people chime in, I'm sure. One thing that I noticed was the pretty drumsticks that I would eat had 2 giant slices through the middle of them.
That is, I can't deny that.
So if you're trying to present a nice meal to the family with the drumsticks, you're going to have to you're not going to get that presentation.
You're not going to get the beautiful Thanksgiving presentation.
But the meat was stellar. And you're still slow cooking it or whatever you want to do, frying it or whatever. You're still doing it the same way.
Yep.
You're just not.
Minus the legs.
You're just not putting them in a pretty presentation. It's not like you ruin the meat.
That's right.
That's what I mean.
Yep.
You're ruining meat when you shoot stuff with a rifle.
Yeah, right.
Like people
or
are
a
like,
shotgun in the breast. You get a shotgun in the breast, and
you'd have to
chew on a lot of BBs
if the
every
choke
year.
was
taking,
pretty small.
Taking a bunch of people.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
You could pick them out though.
You can.
You can see the shots.
Sometimes you can. Sometimes you miss a few.
Yeah.
And I generally always do. Every year I munch it on a couple.
It sucks. I've done that with ducks.
Uh-huh.
Now turkeys, since I haven't killed one yet.
Well.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Okay, people. I'm hunting here with Mike. He's killed a lot of turkeys. He loves turkey hunting. That broadhead you shot was it's like 4 inches wide when it expands.
Yeah, they're 3 1/8.
3 1/8.
3 1/8. It's a big broadhead.
It's ridiculous.
Expandable 2-blade made by Dead Ringer, and I can't express It's not a rear deploying. It's a front deploying blade. So when it goes in, it opens those blades up, and it rips. If it catches feathers, it catches legs, bone, and it just completely destroys. And if you're marginally off, which and a lot of times you are with turkey. You got a split-second shot sometimes.
Yeah.
Generally not what you want to take, but you get that shot, you got to take it. And man, that 3-inch really helps you out.
So as I was hunting this week, people were writing in, DMing me, PMing me, emailing me, and saying and telling me what broadheads they like to use on turkeys.
Yeah.
Turkey aficionados. Every single one of them mentioned some kind of mechanical, giant bladed broadhead.
Yeah.
It seems as though that's the preferred choice. The argument against the mechanical broadhead typically is not enough penetration, right?
That's correct. On your big game animals.
And so on a big game animal, that makes sense to me. It makes a lot of sense. But a turkey's so small that you're not going to have trouble. All you need to do is go in 3 inches, 2 inches.
Yeah, that's it.
Right? If it were to go in that far and stop,
You're breaking every bone in the
dead.
body of a turkey
dead,
with
right?
a shot. Yeah.
But if the shot is somewhat marginal, as that thing opens, it's going to hit. It's going to take everything out. So
absolutely. Right.
And you saw that with Jordan. I couldn't believe how giant the cut on it. Like my broadhead that I've got right now is 175 grain Valkyrie broadhead, and that's a great broadhead for big game. I'm going to get 2 holes. It's going to do a pass through. It's sharp through the whole body cavity. It'll blow through bones.
Yeah, that'll blow through.
Most
animals in this country.
It's insanely sharp, as you witnessed this weekend, and so did the blind. Sorry, Sloan. But your blind has like 30 holes in it, dude. It's like a lightsaber, right? Like if that broadhead touches anything, it's cutting it off. I've never had a blade so sharp on a broadhead before. Those Valkyrie, Brent Hahn does an incredible job with those. But probably a good broadhead for turkey. I mean, it's going to put a hole in it and stuff, but it doesn't have the cutting diameter like what you're talking for that margin of error on such a small target.
Right.
If you take a 30, 35-yard shot and you're trying to hit a baseball, or the legs, about a width of a baseball, you can be off up and down vertically when you're aiming, like we talked about earlier, up the leg. But you really can't be off left and right by too much.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
But if you're off with your broadhead by...
Even 2 inches still.
2 inches.
Yep.
You're off. I mean, if you calculate the entire width of the baseball plus another 2 inches to the right of that, and then another 2 inches off the offside of that, you've just expanded your target range by 4 inches.
Yeah, and that's
width. Instead of it being a 3-inch wide target or a 4-inch wide target, you're talking about an 8-inch wide target. Yeah. That's a big deal.
They've worked for me, and I'm going to keep.
That was my next question.
I'm just going to. They work.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
Is this head? It seemed like this head's so big, like it would have trouble deploying.
Oh gosh.
But what kind of poundage are you running?
Well, after the shark injury, and typically. Even before that, I really wasn't doing much. I'd like to turn it down to 67, 68. Now I'm running 65, and I even sometimes like to I'll even turn it down just a little bit lower in turkey season because sometimes there are all those crazy shots and you're holding back for a while in the blind. I mean, or we're hunting on the ground. A lot of times I get with my buddies and we get on the ground with no blind, and so sometimes you're full draw for a minute or two. So that's what I'm doing.
So you don't have insane poundage.
No, I do not.
And your draw length is 28, 29?
It's 28 and a half, yeah.
28 and a half?
Yep.
So
I'm shooting around the 280 mark, a little over 280, 290 with that, and I'm plenty. That's
and for
plenty.
Turkeys, you're blowing them.
Just blowing right through them. Yep.
And now that you've been using that broadhead and aiming at the legs, how's it been? How many birds have you lost?
I still
Don't lie to me,
lose
Massey.
some. That's
Don't
right.
lie to me, Massey.
I really had to think twice, Gritty. I was like, I can't lie to Gritty. I still lose some. Last year, I unhappily can say that I lost 5 birds last year with that broadhead. But that was me, just jumping the shot. I go in and out with trigger panic. It's something that I've struggled with. In the beginning, sometimes I'll go a long way, depending on the trips I got and how I practice. And I got my little methods that I calm myself down. And it may have been a little bit of that, but or just me, just release. And you're in those blinds, and you never know. Your anchoring point changes so much. But I lost. I think I lost 5 last year. I've been 3 for 3 this year. So I stay about. This year I'm 100%. Last year I was probably 60-something%. So I try to stay in that.
Prior to this, when you aimed not at the legs,
yes,
maybe used.
I've been working on that for a while. I started that last year.
What was your success rate there?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That 60-something%. It is. I struggle with finding
That's almost
those
1
vitals.
out of 2.
It's tough. Now it's been 3 for 3. I'm just this year. I shot some last year following those legs.
Yeah.
And I really, that's just the way I do it. Everybody does, something different. It works for me, and I'm going to keep doing it. I'm 3 for 3. Knock on some wood. That's I'm batting 1,000, buddy.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's very interesting. I mean,
yeah.
I since then I've been really interested since going like a few days before we left, a week or two, and then once we got here, I'm just like, okay, I want to see some turkey hunting. Because honestly, when it comes up on a YouTube search or on whatever, I skim over the turkey hunts.
It's hard to watch. If you're not there and that bird's not gobbling in your face, it's hard to watch them gobbling in somebody else's face.
Now that I've done the calling and I've messed around with it and stuff, calling any animal in is just cool.
Yeah,
it's fun, no matter what it is. Coyote, wolf, bear.
It's really cool.
Turkey,
it's that interaction,
elk,
right?
Mule deer.
Yep.
Grunting a whitetail, rattling. All that stuff is just, there's something about that that's really fun. So doing that turkey thing it was cool. And so I'm starting to watch a few shows. What I realized was there's a lot of rifle hunting going on.
A lot of shotgun.
I'm not hearing, and I still have to mess around, but I'm gonna my buddy Mike over at Heartland Bowhunter. He said to use an NAP Maximus broadhead.
NAP makes some great heads,
like a Kill Zone or Maximus
they
or
make
something.
A couple good. I'm not too familiar with.
And I gotta go watch Heartland Bowhunter's turkey.
Those boys.
I'll be honest. Like
birds.
I've been catching up on all their seasons. And I've been skipping all the turkey stuff. Anything turkey. Now I want to go back and watch all the turkey hunts.
Tell Mike and Sean that.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't hear this. Those guys are awesome. They get it done. They love to be on the ground and with their bows. Mm-hmm. And that's a big thing. It's a challenging thing.
I got to say that at least here, that hunting with a shotgun, we'd all come home with birds with shotguns.
You probably could have taken out 3 in one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, multiple days.
Yeah,
we could have
wrapped them up.
We could have shot a bunch of toms. There was at one point 10 toms.
That's what we when we started counting
that was our
what we saw
estimate.
Yeah, and then Sloan, and we got intel from Sloan and Jordan. That's what it came out to be.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the shotgun's a totally different ball game. It looks like,
Yeah, listen, there's time and place to do it. I love shooting them in the face. I usually shoot at least 1 or 2 in the face a year.
Yeah,
but I love to bow hunt a turkey,
and I think it's fun probably to go out.
It's fun.
Get on a turkey in the bushes.
Yep,
like you were saying, without a blind. Maybe just carry a fan or a decoy, do a few calls, get them to come in and range, and then it's really tough. They have really good eyesight, right?
I've heard some crazy story. 10 by 42s on top of their heads.
Yeah.
So they've got some incredible eyesight.
So they pretty much pick you off pretty quick. So if you're not in a blind or behind something and you're trying to shoot them with a bow, it sounds like you're not going to get it off. Where if you got a shotgun and it's just sitting there and the turkey's coming in, you don't really have to move but micro inches to line the barrel up.
It's a split second, and
shoot.
Put that bead on his head and pull the trigger.
Boom. So it would be fun, I think, probably to run and gun with a shotgun, like up in the mountains or whatever, and do it that way too. But on the farm there, on the ranch with the blind and a bow and arrow, that was really fun. It put in a whole nother level of challenge into it, and it made us rely on calling a lot more. Like, we could have just sat in some of those pinch points and shot them with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Like, we knew which path they were going to take, what trail.
Yeah, you got it. Generally, you need something. A decoy is most preferable when you got something that to lock them on. Yeah. They're not coming to look for you. Because I can tell you right now, unless you've built an incredible ground blind with your terrain, it's going to be hard. You're hard-pressed pulling that bow back. Yeah. It's a lot of movement drawing back. That I think they see up to like 300 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, a turkey, you got to think about that. Turkey's eyeballs almost seeing a 360 is that's a pretty tough feat to pull back or do any kind of movement when they're walking in.
So I had a blast.
That was a good time. Really good time.
I can't wait to do it again. I'm kind of, I don't handle, like it's going to haunt me.
It's going to haunt you.
I didn't kill a turkey.
Yeah, we had to admit that today. It was tough.
It's going to bother me for a while, and I'm going to be like, I got to go do this. I got to go do this. I got to accomplish that goal. Like it's an undone goal there. Plus, when you make fun of turkey hunting as much as I have, and then you can't kill a turkey, it's sort of frustrating.
It get to you.
So, but let's switch gears. Let's switch gears because I want the audience to hear this story. You have some major scars on your left hand and on your arm, basically, and you were attacked by a shark, and then attacked another time. So, tell us this story. The first time you were attacked by a shark.
Yeah.
What's the story?
So, growing up in South Florida, we're on the lakes, we're on the canal banks fishing for bass, or on the intercoastal, or fishing on the beach, or surfing, or there's the activities that you grow up doing, and surfing was one of my hobbies growing up, and I competed and I did that, traveled all around the world doing surfing and stuff. Well, I was at my home break one day, and I didn't ever discriminate. It didn't matter if it was knee high or overhead. I was wanting to get out in the water. Well,
to surf,
correct. So I was driving by the beach one day, and I saw a little guy that was out there surfing. His name is Jeremy Stanley. I saw his dad pushing him into waves, and I was like, you know what? Let me go out there and hang out with the boys. So we're out there, and I'm standing in waist-high water. I mean, these waves you could barely stand up on.
How old are you?
I was 18 at the time. And little Jeremy, I think he was probably 13, 12 or 13.
Okay.
Dad pushing him in the waves, just going to hang out, get some sun, relaxed, have a good time to hang out. And we're sitting there talking, and I'll set a little something here for you. Shark bite in that time were up. Florida was probably ranked in the top places in the world at that time. They had the local area had just banned net fishing. These boats come out and drop a net and circle these big schools of bait around right off the beach. Well, they had banned that about it'd probably been 5 years by that time. So the bait schools and everything were just getting giant. These sharks migration was incredible that we were getting into. So meanwhile, that sort of sets a tone for this. I'm out in the water, and we're talking about this. We just had a good friend of ours. Got bit up at just a few miles up the road. Oh, this gentleman over here, this acquaintance, this friend got bit. So we'd known a handful of people that have gotten bit here in the last month or two. Well, we're in about prime season for something we call the mullet run down there, and this mullet run is when these schools of bait get on the beach, and you get everything. You get all kind of predators up on the beach eating them. So I was out there, and I saw a little set coming, so I jump on my board, paddle out, and I'm sitting out there, and I'm just going over stuff in my head, just thinking about work. I was
girls,
whatever it was, probably was at that time, and all of a sudden, I got a bait school that just moved in, and it was just flying all over, hitting the bottom of my board. I'm like, gosh,
so a bunch of
just a bunch of fish. They're called mullet, right? Okay, So they're on the beach. It's a bait fish that we use and that run the beaches all the time over there. So I'm getting pummeled by these things. I mean, they're hitting me. They're hitting my board. They're hitting everything I got in the water. My legs. I had to get my legs up on. So I'm up on my board now. I paddled one more time to get out of it, just to pick my hands and all my extremities up out of the water. As soon as I did that with my left hand, somebody felt like they put my arm in a vice grip, but it was instant. It was just a boom real quick. I actually started to laugh. I started to laugh as I raised my arm out of the water, and that laugh became just like a, oh my gosh kind of face real quick. I'd been bit. I found out real quick that I'd been bit.
So what were you thinking it was?
I thought it was his dad. We were just talking about shark bites, and I'm thinking his dad was a character. He always has been a character. I'm thinking he swam underwater, just bam, he grabbed my arm, and I'm like, oh gosh, this, I'm just smirking on my face. And anyways, I lift it up, and the amount of meat that you have in your arm, the tissue and the muscle is pretty incredible. I found out very quickly that it wasn't his dad messing with me. So long story short, I was pretty freaked out. I turned around to Jeremy, and he got white as a ghost. And you got to think, this is a young guy, and as he's freaking out, ran up to the beach. The lifeguard or the Coast Guard little tower, they've got something there. And then they got a paramedic fire department just up the road. He actually ran the entire way. It wasn't long. It was probably 5 minutes, and somebody was on the beach. But his dad grabbed me up. He got me up on the water, or out of the water.
Yeah.
Put a little sort of a tourniquet, blood, get my my arm elevated, and then it was just a short trip to the hospital, which is over the other side of the bridge.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was the first.
So
encounter.
How bad was this bite?
It was 3 layers of internal stitching, a little over 250 stitches.
Oh.
So yeah, it laid me open pretty good. I was out of the water.
Didn't hurt the bones or tendons?
No, I did have a lot of nerve damage, and I still struggle with that. It's, I've got another funny bone, not just one. I've got a couple in this arm. If I hit a couple areas, it's not funny. It goes numb. It goes quite numb.
Okay.
So that was the first time. That was 18.
Did you know anybody else, personally, that's been bit by a shark?
I do. There was there was a couple guys that I had known that were from Palm Beach. Mangled
How bad
hand.
were their bites?
One of them had a mangled foot. One of them had a mangled hand. Nothing deadly and nothing too outrageous. So now they were close calls. They could have bled out, but we're in town. We're not. It's not like we're surfing these crazy destinations.
And the shark's teeth, they're just like razor blades.
They're razor blades, and the jaws, the power of their jaws is pretty incredible.
They're just like
they're
cutting knives.
I didn't even feel it. Exactly. So like cutting yourself with a sharp knife, you really don't know until you go, oh wow, and
that's insane how sharp they are.
It really is. It is incredible.
It's just like.
No,
killing machine.
That's what they do, right? That's what they do for a living. So that was the first time. It was not something I wanted to experience, but
So how many years later till the second time?
It was 20 years. 20 years later, and this hadn't even been a year yet.
How much time have you spent in the water?
Oh gosh, I was in the water 3 months after it happened.
Still been doing that ever since.
Yeah. I moved out to Hawaii. Started surfing with the big sharks. We had I had some mental breakdowns in the water where I was getting like, man, what is going on? Surfing with some giant 10, 12-foot tigers. Moved to Australia for a while. Showed up there, and the day I got there, the guy named Mike, they call it the nickname, Mick down under. A guy named Mike had been bit by a great white the exact day I got there. So, it's in my head. It was something I struggled with for a while, and I still do. I respect that. We're jumping in their homes, entertaining ourselves. So, yeah, it's something. It's a full found respect, and I have that in the ocean. Growing up around the ocean, I got a big respect for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So tell me about this second bite, because it was worse than the first one.
Damage-wise, yeah.
What kind of shark bit you the first time?
Well, we have these sharks called a spinner shark. It's a shark that travels up and down we see them all the time, but there's certain times of the year where they migrate, and our local news channel will fly a chopper, and they'll show it on there. And, hey, guys, not a good time to be at the beach and all this. There's thousands of sharks.
Okay.
And we generally always see them, so they're always around, but this time of year there's just thousands of them. And this was a spinner shark. That's what we call them. And they grab their bait and spin out of the water and fall back down. Okay. And then now this second shark, this was a different story. This is more of a super aggressive shark. I got a phone call. Buddies, the Bahamas are an hour and a half away. growing up, we were running over there all the time. I got a call Sunday afternoon. Buddy says, hey, it's your cousin's birthday. I had one of his buddies drop out. You want to go jump in the water? We need another diver. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, the day doesn't look too good. The guys at work they got stuff going on. We're set at work, so I'll go run over. Sure thing. So I was over there at 5:30 at the dock with my dive gear. It was an overcast day. We were actually making jokes pretty much all morning long about these overcast days are the days that you really got to keep your eyes out.
Why?
Because the visibility gets just that. It gets dim. The light's dim. It's a feeding time for a shark.
Okay.
That dim light is and
that's
so
when they go hunting.
That's when it's hunting time. You get that real bright, clear skies, and then not only that, you got viz that's really good. And sure enough, we were set up for and we were talking about it. Like I said, it was the tide was going to be a little murky because it was an outgoing tide off the bank of the Bahamas. So that just instantly means it's going to be a little bit murky. And then we had overcast skies. So it was one of those things we were joking about, like, oh, just swim with Mike. He's already been bit. We're good, right? And this was an ongoing joke pretty much all morning.
Dude, I got to admit, like, just being out in the ocean, your legs, like, dangling off a surfboard.
Yeah.
Like, there are prehistoric critters swimming around down there with razor-sharp teeth. I mean, dude.
Is it really worth it?
It's not a way to go, man.
Is it worth it?
I've seen, like, shark films, dude, like movies.
Oh, yeah. No, I listen.
Dude, it would be in my head. I've never been bit by a shark.
It's definitely in my head. I'll tell you that. I did struggle for a little while, but, I've got to respect and
how do you deal with that? Like, well, finish your story and then tell me.
All right.
How you deal with
that. So we're running
fear.
over there. We're talking about this and joking around. Hey, swim with Mike. So we're going over there because it's my cousin's, sort of birthday. It was his birthday the other day. He had shot a fish that previous year.
So you're out there spearfishing?
Yeah, this is what we're going. We're free diving, no tanks. You hold your breath, go down to the bottom and shoot fish.
You've been doing this your whole life?
That's what I've been doing. I've probably been in the water since I was, 12, 13. We moved over, the family moved over to the saltwater intercoastal, and I met some great friends, and we started doing that very shortly after. So we've been doing this for forever, as long as I can really remember. And, we were in the water. Scene was set up, murky, overcast, joking about it. Got in the water. We shot some fish. Day was going great. We were filling up the cooler. We go over there, fill a cooler full of fish, go back, split it up between everybody. Everybody gets a fresh. We don't freeze fish. You have a fresh dinner, have people over. It works out perfect. Well, headed to a wreck that my cousin had shot a nice fish, one of his biggest groupers, the year before that. And we've been shooting some fish, and it had been good. We hadn't seen too many sharks at all. I think there was a couple swimming around. Nothing. They weren't bothering us. So we head toward this wreck. And I think it was actually him and I. On the first drop, we both dropped in. The plan was he was going to hit the left side, I was going to hit the right side. That's generally how we stay. We try to stay that 100-yard. You should always dive with a dive buddy. I mean, I was always taught that as a young guy. And, we kind of break the rules a little bit as we get older and a little more daring, but it's not the wisest thing. So anyways, he's over on the left side. I'm on the right side. And I ended up shooting hogfish. But I saw several fish that were shooters. So I got back in the boat, and he's like, "Hey, what'd you see?" I was like, "Oh, I got some fish. We need to take another drop." He's like, "All right, I'll stay on your side." I didn't see a thing over on the left side.
This is like hunting underwater.
This is hunting underwater.
I mean, you're stalking prey.
That's what we're doing. You're holding your breath. You've got these things called pole guns or Hawaiian slings. Over in the Bahamas, you can't use a mechanical gun, so you can't pull these giant rubber bands back that are held back, and you've got a trigger mechanism, and you can fire that. So these are all physically just it's a bow underwater.
Yeah,
these are connected to a pole, or it's like they call it a Hawaiian sling. So jump back in the water. I said, "Hey, let's stay on this right side." I saw a bunch of hog hogfish and some mutton snapper up in the fans. So sure enough, get down, and I instantly start seeing a couple muttons. I'm going to hold out a little bit. Boom! I see one about 5 pounds. I was like, all right, that's good. That's good enough for a nice meal. So I go down and I end up shooting this fish. In the meantime, I had lost my cousin. So when I came up, I looked over, and
he's in the boat.
He was about
swimming with you.
Yeah, he was 150, 200 yards on the other side. We were supposed to both stick together on the right side of this wreck, and well, that didn't happen. So I shot this mutton. As I'm coming up, a mutton snapper is something that you don't really get a really good shot at. So there's some fish that you can go up to and literally sneak up right there, like, what are you? And you just thump them right in the head.
Yeah.
And it's a quick, clean kill. With a mutton snapper, that doesn't happen so often. These guys, I was flailing everywhere. I had to choke up on my pole gun, grab the fish, control him by sticking my hands in his gills and getting him under control. So I came up, I got my left hand in his gills, and I'm taking him off the spear right away. For one, I do that for two reasons. For one, I like to get that boat comes by, I toss that fish right in the boat. So it's an easy, quick process. You're not handing it over. Secondly, if you keep them it's a good thing to keep them on the pole when you have a lot of shark activity around, because you literally can hand the fish over. We hadn't seen that many sharks all day.
Let the shark eat the fish.
Let it. Just give it to the shark. You're not gonna. I've seen some people fend off some sharks because they've killed their fish, and I'm not that way. I've always been taught, and I have many. I can't even count how many times I've had a shark pestering me, and you give the shark, and they leave you alone. They don't want to mess with you. They want that fish that you just shot.
Right.
Well, in the meantime, so I'm looking over. The boat now is 250 yards away, over with my cousin on the other side of the wreck, and it's not a good feeling when you're out in these waters because you just never know. This area that we were diving is a very it's 30 miles from any land in any direction, 70 miles from back home. So you're out there quite a ways. I got up to the surface. I'm looking immediately around for sharks. Nothing's going on. I stick my head back in the water, and I see what is about a 15-pound mutton, and that's a big mutton. This is a really good thing now. I've got this fish under control, got him under his gills. I've got to wait for the boat because they're 250 yards away. Well, I keep checking the fish, and I'm waving my pole around. They see me. I see the boat turn.
Yeah.
But they're not coming to get me like. And I don't know what's going on over there.
Yeah.
But anyways,
how far away are they?
They are at least 250 yards away
Jeez.
At this point. So yeah, I'm out treading water with a 5-pound fish.
How far are you from land?
Well, that's what I said. About 30 miles from anywhere, and then 70 miles from home. I'm out there in the middle.
It's not creepy or anything.
No. So this is normal. This is where you go.
This is normal.
So this is the good stuff, right? So we're diving on the good stuff. Well, that good stuff also means sharks, and this is when it starts getting interesting. So I'm checking out this fish. I'm going down. I want to go down, toss my other fish in the boat, go down and get this thing because it's a stud, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm checking it, and about the 5th time, and all that prior, I didn't see anything. I was checking the surface down below. I didn't see a shark. On the 5th time, I was looking. Oh, I was definitely looking. I'm keeping my eye on that fish, but more importantly, I'm looking out for the man. All right, and that's just something that you learn to do. And on the 5th time, I put my head down, and I literally headbutt the shark. I can just remember having his eyeball literally inches away from my face, his hand or my hand in his mouth with my fish. So as he came in and tried to get the fish, he has now got my hand in his mouth. I instantly
how big is this shark?
At that time I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
But
enough.
After, and this is where it gets interesting, I'll tell you, I kind of realized how big he was. So instantly, I ripped my hand out. This is just a reaction. It's not a macho man punch the shark in the eyeballs. None of this.
He's got your arm, and you just
instinct. Pull, right? Just it's instinct. Rip your hand out, And as I did that, that's when I did the damage, as I found out later. But I got my hand out. If I would have probably let that shark have my hand for a split second longer, he would have shook his head, and it could have been
taking it off.
Very, very bad, like very bad. It could have bled out, like really quick. So I am now flailing on the top of the water, and I'm yelling quite loudly, trying to get some attention.
And then there's that. I just picture like all this blood in the water.
There's a lot of blood in the water. I'm looking down, and I'm in a cloud of redness. And this is when it started getting interesting, and I really started getting. I was kind of having an anxiety attack. I was having to really, really try to keep myself under control.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get their attention, and all of a sudden, I feel this boom. Just I get shoved on my right side. And I know what it is. It's either this shark or it's another shark that had come in and it's sort of investigating what's going on. Like what's all this blood? And a lot of these bull sharks are very well known for coming in and bumping you and just messing with you, and you never know when they're just going to bite you.
And was this a bull shark? You don't know.
We don't know, but from my experience, I think it was a bull.
Okay.
He came in, bumped me on my right side, bumped me on my left side, and this is all going down, and I'm still trying to get their attention, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta picture this. I'm in the water freaking out, and then here comes the big one. I don't know if it was a part of the fish that was still in the water floating around me, but he came in and he literally his tail and probably a quarter of his body came out of the water and bam, slams me in the back of the head. And that is when the gentleman, Matt, that was driving the boat said, that's when I saw and I knew something was wrong.
Splash.
He saw the giant splash, saw something fly out of the water. He knew something was wrong. So I saw the boat get up on plane, running toward me. So I am now freaking out, and I'm yelling. It's one of those beep, 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 beep things. That's when I'm kind of freaking out.
Don't sharks sense?
Well, yeah. So 100 yards away, he backs off the throttles and stops. So I'm like, I just panic, man. I don't think I could panic anymore. He stops the boat, and I said some very nice choice words.
Yeah,
and he comes up later and whatever. He thought I was yelling at him to stop. Long story short, came up, grabbed my hand, got me in the boat real quick, and everybody on the boat was pretty cool. I had my cousin's girlfriend, all my boys. They've seen some stuff, and it wasn't like the first attack where it was like a Jaws scene on the beach.
Right.
This was everybody's like, all right, what do you need? You all right? Cool. I was in some pretty good shock. I had to chill out. I had to start calming myself down, and really focusing on relaxing. I asked for water, calmed down.
Going in
the meantime, we still had some boys over in the water, right? And my buddy Jack is a firefighter, local firefighter, and he's a trained paramedic. We knew exactly what we needed to do. So we go over there a couple 100 yards, 250 yards away, and pick up Jack. Jack gets on the boat, immediately takes care of gets the situation under control. My buddy's already ripped the rubber bands off the guns, wanting to put a tourniquet. I mean, it's just like bang, bang, bang. Things are happening. You just go into it's time to work mode.
Yeah.
And he was doing it. We just don't know any better. So Jack gets in. He said, no, get that thing away. We don't need that right now. We need to stop this bleeding. Cuts my sleeve up, cuts my glove on that I had on, takes my water. I was drinking the water trying to calm myself down, and he pours it on it, tells me to bite my right hand, and that's what I did. And he poured it all over, and that's when everybody's reaction was like, and he said, yeah, we got to go. There was a vein in there that was just squirting everywhere,
like a sprinkler.
Yeah, exactly like a sprinkler. You could see the bone, you could see some tendon damage. We knew we were in some. We need to get somewhere quick, and that's.
Folks, I've seen the photos, the video, and dude, your hand looks unhuman, like unnatural. It's just like
it's pretty
giant,
incredible. What's the human body?
Shredded piece of blown up flesh. Like it was disgusting.
Yeah, it makes some people can't see it. I mean, it's not for everybody. That's for sure. I find it pretty
throw it on
interesting.
YouTube so people can see.
Yeah, I think I'll definitely give you a couple shots. I mean, it's a go over to the page and we'll send some shots. And if you got a stomach and handle it, go ahead. I find it pretty interesting. So here's where the story begins. Of what are we going to do? What happened now? This is what do we got to do now? So I immediately asked, hey, do we have any pain medication on the boat? Do we have any iodine? What do we have? Let's start taking. Well, Buddy Jack is a paramedic. He instantly got some gauze, got some disinfectant. We had some type of disinfectant, whether I don't know if it was peroxide, something on the boat. Yeah. Poured it all over the wound. I know we had iodine. That's what we had, so that helped. Poured iodine on there, and he just got a ton of gauze. And he's like, he told me this is going to hurt. And he just started packing my wound. I mean, just packing that wound and wrapping it. He had some tape and wrapped it. And enough where it was, really good pressure, but enough where it wasn't one of those things where you could see the fingers going purple and stuff like that. And a couple of my fingers already were no blood. There was no blood flow at all to them. Yeah. They weren't getting any blood. And then the question came up, Mike, what do you want to do? You want to call the Coast Guard? They'll come in with the chopper and get you? You want to go to West End? West End's a very third world country. The Bahamas in certain areas, super third world. It's not a place you want to go if you can help it, right? Yeah. So I was like, you know what? No, let's. How far are we from home? Immediately answered me with 70 miles from home. I'm thinking to myself, that's 2 hours. And it's at least an hour and 45 minutes. It could be up to 2.5, 3 hours, depending on the seas. Yeah. And we're looking all east, and we're looking on the radar, and it doesn't look good. It's pretty nasty. But I said, you know what? I think we could stop this bleeding. They threw a beanbag in the back of the boat, gave me 4 Advil and another bottle of water, and I said, let's
That'll
go.
Do ya?
Let's go. That'll do me. I think I was asking for a little bit more than that, but that's all we had. Yeah. I needed something to try to get my mind off of it, and if we had any medication or pain medication, I want to take it because I was in. Did
you feel like throwing up?
Yeah, that was, and that's what I fought for the first, I don't know, probably 15 minutes at least. I was, trying to keep my body from going into shock, wanting to pass out. I did pretty good. They were all like surprised. I don't know. I don't remember that right there. I do remember sitting back, getting the 4 Advil, and the pain was excruciating. Every wave we hit, it was, you could feel the heart throb. You could feel the pulse in my hand. So that happened. The body's incredible. The body is a very incredible thing. 45 minutes, I felt every single wave. Every wave I felt it, and it was everything I could do to just bite down on my other hand and just take it. And then all of a sudden, the body I just went numb. I mean, I'm up walking around, we're cranking music, drinking water. So it's really cool. And that wasn't 4 Advil didn't do that.
No.
So the
body just did what it needed to do.
It does. It's just the endorphins and everything that is shot in you. It's you're on this high, and that's what I was. I was jacked. I was all jacked up, and I was fine. The guys are like, "Oh, we're gonna have an ambulance waiting at a Sailfish, which is a sort of a public dock that has a restaurant there." I said, "No, you guys, hey, take me in. I'm fine.
Yep.
Drive me to the hospital," and that's what we did.
Okay. So you get to the hospital now.
Yep.
You were showing me the video where the surgeon was like all your innards to your hand are like exposed in giant holes, and you can just see the bones and the tendons and the workings of your hand.
Yeah.
And the tendon, he's literally taking the tendons in your hand and moving them around and making your fingers move like a puppet while you're
they were
surgery.
severed. Yeah.
Were you awake during that? Or
yeah, I was awake through the whole thing.
That's a little intense.
So, I as I'm sitting there,
why
we walk
did they
in.
put you to sleep? Is that just a request?
No, they did. They
trying
wanted
to save some money, weren't you?
Well, that was sure. Why not? Listen, the truth is that 20 years before that, I watched the surgery, and the surgeon said, you're really not supposed to watch this. I'm supposed to knock you out. But he says, you seem to be okay. I said, man, I would love to watch you do this. This is really pretty cool. And sure enough, she asked me the same question. Hey, we're supposed to put you out. Are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm fine. I'd love to see this. Meanwhile, I got my phone out. And
so were you filming it?
I'm filming this. So she's questioning me. What are you doing? Oh, I'm taking some pictures for my friends. My mom just showed up at the hospital, and so I've got to smooth that situation over. And she's screaming at me, "What are you doing with the phone?" So what I was actually doing, I went Facebook Live, and I just thought, I was like, "Hey, man, this is awesome." I know my buddies were all on the boat. We're going to be watching, right? So I'm talking about my boys.
Hey, if you get attacked by a shark, dude, you might as well leverage that in some way. It might get you a chick. It might get you,
That's what I was.
You might do a GoFundMe account for Mike's busted hands. Get a little cash.
Please pay for my surgery.
Yeah.
So that's how I actually.
Tell me this too.
My head.
You told me
it's the chick.
It was the money too. Like you were in the hospital. They wanted how much to fix
So they
your
came
hand?
in with a quote for $63,000. I didn't have insurance with all the government junk we were going on with. I was
you didn't have insurance like a dummy.
I didn't have insurance like a dummy.
Like a dummy.
I was not happy with some healthcare issues that we were dealing with at the time, and I just was like pretty stubborn. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to get it. Well, $63,000 is like, well, bummer, man. Like. That's some hunting trips, man. That's like
you have priorities.
Right.
Just chop the hand off.
That's right. That's quite a bit of hunting trips.
So what'd you do?
Well, it was about that time I started thinking about it, and meanwhile I'm still videoing, and so I wasn't thinking that much about it. I'm like, all right, no problem. Well, I got to do what I got to do.
Yeah.
So I get a text from my buddy. He's like, dude, this video is awesome. He's like, this is good. She's pretty cute. The nurse was hot. I mean, it was definitely.
That's a bonus.
It was absolute.
It sort
bonus.
of eases the pain.
Good conversation.
She's probably super friendly.
Right. Oh, yeah, it was. Oh, my gosh. I can't believe
Look
this.
at these biceps.
Yeah. So
put nice shoulders
in the meantime, I get a text from my buddy.
Which was total lie. She's just doing her job, make you feel better.
Well, she did a very nice job, and I did compliment her. I don't know, a couple dozen
times
number?
Throughout
that. I asked her out. Yeah, I did. But she's like, "Oh, I can't do that." So, anyways, it didn't work. But so my buddy texts me, and he's like, "Dude, the video is awesome. Hey, I never told you, but." The guy that you were replacing, or your cousin's buddy, is a hand surgeon down south. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, what? He's like, I'm telling you, man. He was a hand surgeon. He was supposed to be on the boat. You need to text him right now.
He was supposed to be spearfishing with you, but he wasn't.
He's supposed to be in the boat spearfishing.
Yeah.
Couldn't make it.
So he couldn't make it, but he's a buddy.
He is a buddy of my cousin.
Okay, so what happens?
So I text him out of the blue, and he goes... She goes, dude, I heard I was supposed to be on the boat. What do you have? And I sent him some pictures. I said, go to Facebook and just watch it, right? So
the world of technology.
He's logged on.
How many years ago was this?
This was not even a year ago. This
less than a year ago.
June 5th.
Dude,
yeah.
Your hand.
Isn't that incredible?
Okay, keep going.
So June 5th, this happened, and he told me. He said, "Yeah, man, you got some damage. It's probably going to be around $65,000." I'm like, brother, you're good. Like, all right, you got some respect real quick from me. You do know what you're talking about, and I'll tell you down the road. It was. I'll tell you another story when we end this, but the guy knows what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
And I instantly got his respect. Now I had to convince my mother that I was in the hospital, and I was going to leave the hospital after they stitched me up and go and have surgery from somebody that. I was texting a buddy, a friend of a friend, right?
Who saw your hand on Facebook.
So my mom's reaction was, what does he work out of his garage? I mean, I was like, Mom, you're going to have to trust me. So I mentioned his name to the nurse, and the nurse had heard about him.
Okay.
So that sort of eased the tension.
That's a lot of money, dude.
It's a lot of money. And that's what came up next.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, You got to tell me what it is. I got to be sad. How does the financial stuff work? He said,
I can trade you a lot of fish. I'm a good fisherman.
A lot of stuff, right? Whatever you want. You want to hunt? I could do. What do you need? And he's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, well, you got to give me something better than that. But okay, so when can I come in? He's like, I want to see you tomorrow. I want you to be stitched up. There's a guy there, a doctor there that studies shark bacteria because it's gotten so popular in our area.
Yeah.
And get shot up by him, get the right antibiotics, and come see me tomorrow. So that's what I did.
Okay.
So I told him how much they quoted me, 60. He's like, yeah, that's what I thought. They want 10 for stay in the night, and then they want 50-something to stitch it up. So, meanwhile, they stitched me up a couple times. The first time they didn't get it right because the blood was still spraying all over, right? And they couldn't get the bleeding under control. They had to open me back up, and she finally got it right. So I got home probably 11 o'clock that night.
Yep.
I wake up, and we go see this gentleman, his doctor's office down. Hassan is his name. And
he's on, it's like a back alley in the middle of nowhere.
No. So I'm thinking he's got a beautiful practice down in Boca, really ritzy area. We go in, and I'm thinking, all right, my mom's she's cool with it.
Yeah,
she's like, all right, this is legit. We're not in somebody's garage, right? So I get in there, and this guy is cool as can be. He's showing me the pictures. We're just talking crap immediately.
Yeah.
And and I said, hey. He told me, he says, I looked at your video. I kept looking at your video, and you got a couple tendons in there. I think 2. I hope 2.
Yeah.
You got some pinky damage. I see that. We don't know what's involved there. I got to take some x-rays. Took some x-rays. He knew right away what had happened. The whole thing that went on. He pretty much saw all the damage.
Yeah.
He told me, he said, here's the only bad part is I can't do surgery on you now because they've stitched you up. If there's any bacteria left in there, and I take you apart and put you back together, you could lose all function in your hand. Your tendons can actually get eaten. Bacteria is highly not good for the body. So he's like, we need to wait at least a week. So, okay, all right. Now, again, let's go back to what am I going to owe you? And he kept saying, don't worry. Well, I pinned the guy down. He's like,
I need a number.
Yeah, I need a number. Never told me. I mean, the guy I couldn't believe what was going on, and I said, all right, no problem. So I started thinking about what I could do for him. Anyways, he said, come back in a week. Come back in a week, and we'll open you up. We'll look how you do. This is what I need you to do. This is dip your hand in peroxide every day, wear this cast, this brace. You do not move your hand. You got torn tendons in there. I don't want you to move anything. No finger movement. So that's what I did. Every day was a regiment for a week, and I'm concerned. I'm keeping my eyes out, watching the swelling. And,
how much pain meds were you on?
I took one pain pill the night that it happened.
Yeah,
and it made me sick. I'm not into that. That stuff.
Yeah, I've noticed you're not a pill popper of any kind. Like you avoid.
Yeah, even headaches, man.
Except for Blaze.
Blaze is another story.
Like Mountain Ops Blaze.
Mountain Ops Blaze, and that's why what it does to me. It sets me on another level. Caffeine, like just through the roof, and you saw that a little bit this weekend. So
you're not to be, you're a little more fun when you're on Blaze.
Yeah, right. Thanks. I'll remember that, Gritty. That's good. No, I guarantee you probably can't shut me up. I mean, as long as I'm talking about some good stuff, we're good. So
you can't move it at all.
No.
Not a lot of pain meds, and you're just buying time.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly.
Everything goes smooth?
Everything goes smooth. I'm off that. I do have some pain. I have some pain in the mornings.
Okay.
But elevate the more I can elevate my arm, the less I feel that pain.
Yep.
So I'm doing my regimen, and I do. There's certain days are worse than others.
Yeah.
Rotating my arm, I feel one time. So I don't know if that's the tendon slot. Something. There were certain times that I did that it was like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I go back in there.
It's messed up inside.
Oh, it's definitely something's loose.
Dude, your fingers not working at all. Like your fingers are disconnected. They're just dangling objects.
That's exactly right. So that's when he taped them all up so I couldn't even think about doing that. So it was a week later. I go back in. He's very impressed with it. He says, I don't see any kind of infection at all.
Okay.
He says, I want to set you up the end of this week.
See that elk?
My word.
See it?
Guys,
We're in Evergreen. We just rolled up to
Colorado.
my house.
We got an elk
Snow
outside.
on the ground, dusting the mountains.
How cool is this?
We got an elk out the car
Man,
window.
This is America.
Dude, it's paradise on
amazing.
earth. Look at the herd. They're over here on this side of the
Really?
road. See that?
How cool is that? They just come. I mean, I can't imagine during
It's
the
fun
rut.
during the rut, dude. They're fighting each other. I showed you that one when it charged my truck.
Yeah, these are all cows.
Yeah, they're young calves.
Yeah, they are little
Cows and
calves
their
too.
calves, yeah.
So we got there. He told me to come back end of the week,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still grilling him about what I'm going to pay.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, I mean, we're super cool. I could tell this guy's going to be a friend. I mean, I could tell we're going to do some stuff. We're going to do some diving together, fishing and hunting. And I went back a week later, and he basically told me, he said, hey, just give me, you're going to pay the cost of the surgery. And I was blown away. I didn't care if it was going to be $60,000, $59,000.
You're like,
it's going to be anything cheaper than what they wanted to. And this guy was cool. I wanted to give the money to this guy if anybody's going to do it. And I trusted him, right? So the surgery went better than expected. He went in there. He videoed the whole surgery for me. So those videos I showed you, those videos were actually him doing the surgery. So he had his helper in there, the nurse, go ahead, and she's videoing while he's doing all this stuff.
Dude, that's
so,
incredible.
Isn't that cool? And it went well, man. It went well. He sewed me right up, and he put me back together. I mean,
we're going to run in. Let's run in the house, grab your wallet, and then we'll get back on the road and finish our story here.
Sounds good.
So you were telling me you got the surgery. What did you – I mean, the guy hooked you up. So
completely hooked me up, and I still don't know what that meant, you know.
Yeah.
I really don't. And it didn't matter. At that point, we were going to be buddies. I mean, I could just tell going after – going in there only a handful of times. Literally. And we went in there, and he's like, come back later this week. We're going to I'm going to knock you out, and I'm going to get some surgery done, and we're going to open you back up. And I've learned an interesting fact. So he said when he opens me back up, there's your tendons, because they're severed, they actually may retract. And if I can't find them, literally go back in my wrist, you know. And if he can't find them, what he's going to have to do, he's going to have to open up my other arm. Okay? And I learned something that, and some people have it, some people don't. If you take a look, I wish everybody could see, but take a look at your arm, bend your wrist back down. Look at your veins. You've got, there's two tendons.
Where you slit your wrist.
Right, where you slit your wrist.
In the mood.
So some people only have one. Some people have two tendons in there. So he said, if your tendons had slid back up into your arm, I'm going to go in and I'm going to cut a section of this one out and replace it. Yeah, so I thought it was pretty cool. I was like, man, see that I dig this, you know. And he's a freak about it, and you could tell he's good. He's super passionate about what he does, and I like it. I don't care if it's taking out the trash. I want to learn from somebody that's passionate about what they do, right?
So did he have to do that?
He did not have to do it. He opened it up and he said they were right there.
You should lie. That'd be way cooler.
Jeez. Oh man. So it went smooth as can be. He came in laughing. He's like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. I was like, what? And I don't remember anything. Yeah. So I was out. So he put me out. I woke up back in a room that I didn't recognize, and I said, oh, I looked at my hand. I was like, okay, yep, I think everything's done. And sure enough, he came in and said, look, dude, it went awesome. Everything went together good. There was some good thick areas of the tendon that I could get some stitch in, and it's like a thread. I mean, he used a thread.
Dude, when you look at the video, it's just a big whole giant white tendon. It's a big cable.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And
right? Cable for your fingers.
Yeah, it looks like a rope.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And after looking at the video, I was like, man, the body's amazing, man. And then you got somebody like him just working on it and working his magic, get you working up. I mean, I'm complete now because of him.
Yeah,
he is. He's incredible. Doctors are incredible what they do. And what happened is he's tied these two together, and it's more. I don't have the movement like I have in my right hand.
Yeah.
And I'm really not supposed to be still doing a lot of stuff. He doesn't want me hanging, and that sort of leads into the recovery of this. The recovery was a process, and I was a little concerned. I had some big stuff coming up, and I was like, oh man. I mean, that was immediately what I started thinking about. Even when I got bit, I was on the way home. I can remember thinking about this trip that I've got coming up, and what is this going to mean? I got to get well, right? I got to shoot a bow in less than 2 months.
Dude, I like the way you think.
It's it. I had to set some quick goals, and I go in and start talking to the ladies, and they're like the nurses, and they're like, oh gosh, this takes 6 to 9 months, and I said, no, it can't. It can't.
And you're right-handed or left?
I'm a right-handed. Okay. So
that's good.
It is in a way. But down the road, it was a little more challenging than I thought. So my bow hand, this is my bow hand, and I've got a hunt to the Yukon in September, and I leave September 13th.
This happened in June.
I got bit June 5th. I had surgery, I want to say, what was the 18th or 19th? I don't know. I've got some documentation of it, but that it was right in there toward the middle of June.
Okay.
So I had July, August to get ready. Okay.
Dang.
And then I was getting a new bow sent to me. The new bow was about to show up. And I was super excited to shoot my new Matthews, and it was awesome. So here's the real question. Yeah. I said, Doc, what does this mean, man? What does this entail? What do I got to do? I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I'm going. I've got some work that I got to get done on this trip. This is a super exciting trip
big
for
deal.
me, right? Yeah. So I'm fired up, and he's like, well, it's possible, but it's going to have to go, and you're going to have to push it to the point, but not so much that you re-injure yourself, because you can immediately rip this thing apart. Right. So I had to push to the limit, but be very careful with it. And he told me that. He says, if you do this and you tear that tendon, you're done. Like, I can't go back, open you up, and redo it. It's going to be a mess. It may never be right again.
Okay.
So that's where it really began.
It's heavy?
Yeah, it is. It's sort of.
You want to be crippled the rest of your life?
Mess with my with my mom. I'm like, man, no way. I love this. I love the stuff that I do too much, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it really began. That's where the journey began on the recovery side of things.
Looks good now, though. I can't even tell.
It's impressive.
Without getting a good look at it, that you got a problem.
I can tell you, I really owe that to my diet. I like to consider myself a pretty healthy guy anyways. I watch what I eat. Watch what I drink. Anything that I put in my body that I kind of watch. Now, I'll have a soda here and there. I'll have a bag of chips here and there. That kind of thing. I'm not a freak about it, but I do watch what I eat, and more so now. I really started adding a lot of vegetables and fruits to my diet. I watch just a lot of junk and sugar.
Yeah.
I think that had a lot to do with it. My doctor agrees with me. But I started right away. He didn't want me to do anything for at least 2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah, that's not a lot of inflammation because your diet's clean. Yep. You're getting like all the right stuff in there, so you're going to heal well. You're going to heal better.
Yeah, that was my logic behind it. I really wanted to do everything I could because some people were telling me they don't think it's possible. Which was cool. He gave me that hope. He's like, "Dude, you could do it. I think we could do it. I know who you are. You're a go-getter, and you can get this thing done." So we started with that. I started going back every week, checking up. He wanted to see it.
Yeah.
I was in this crazy contraption, trying to sleep with my wrist or my arm above my head at night. It was driving me nuts. I mean, it's one of those things that I had to do it, but
not
your
favorite.
No, it was mental stage I had to stay focused the whole time because I knew I had a goal. Yeah. And that's where it started. I started going to see him all the time, and he gave me this regimen. And then, okay, next week we're going to do this. Next week we're going to take it off. We're going to put you in another cast, and we're going to put you in a contraption called an outrigger. I learned that squeezing your hand was not the dangerous part.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, okay, that uses your forearm muscle when you squeeze your
Yeah.
There's a slight muscle up in your upper forearm on top of your arm, right? And then you got your forearm on the bottom of your arm. That is what's used to grip. What is used to open your hand? That's your tendons. That's where it's at. So I could squeeze all I wanted. In fact, he gave me a couple of these, like, those squeeze balls. Yeah, a couple of squeeze balls to really get my grip. I've never been able to get. I've always been into trying to stay healthy and being in the gym and keep myself up to speed, training quite a bit for the hunts that I do and just the adventures I go on. And I always had a problem before because this is the same arm I got bit 20 years ago.
Right.
So I had a lot of damage in my muscle, my forearm. And he's like, it's going to atrophy like crazy. You're a fit guy, but it is going to go because you're not going to be able to move this thing for at least a month, right?
It's going to suck when you take it out.
Correct.
Dude. It's going to suck.
That's exactly
scar
what
tissue. It's not going to move right.
Yeah.
It's going to be muscles are going to shrink into oblivion.
It was sad, anytime you do that, but you got to
you still kind of have a girly baby T-Rex arm.
Hey man, easy, dude. Now you think you spent a few days with me? Now you can grill me like this, Gritty. I see how you are, Gritty.
No, you got a good arm.
No, I'm not a big guy by any means, but I stay in it.
Stay fit.
I cardio. I got to get a lot of stuff in there. I like some of these adventure hunts. You got to stay to the grind.
So you do this, and what happens? Is it atrophied?
Yes, big time. Yeah, big time. So I really got on the squeeze ball right away. Going in there twice a week for ultrasound. Basically, an ultrasound. They massage the whole hand, break up scar tissue. There was therapies that they were doing. They were massaging it. They were doing all kinds of things, making me each finger. I had to start moving it. So it was about the 30-day mark where I started. They were allowing me to start moving it.
Yeah.
And then it just as soon as I got clearance, it was all over. Like I went as quick as I could.
Yeah.
And it was there was some points where I was like, gosh, I get the concept, right?
Yeah.
You don't open your hand. You can squeeze all you want, and it's good. So, I mean, I got right on the squeeze balls. I was squeezing it. I was every finger I was working on, I kept lifting every one. I have quite a bit of nerve damage in my pinky that was going on. So that was something we were trying to get under control. I had a special brace. My pinky's still not right. But I wore a brace to keep it flat because it was all bent and crooked for a while. So there was all kind of little things going on in my hand, and I had to start doing it. Started getting the strength thing down right away. And then there was this contraption called the outrigger. Okay, I think we're in the third or fourth week of rehab. Mm-hmm. 3 or 4. They give me this thing called the outrigger, and what it does, it allows you to squeeze your hand and bend your wrist all the way down. And then you let go, and the rubber bands that are connected to each finger and your wrist, it pulls everything back up. So now is where the exercises. I'm supposed to do this 6 times a day for 10 minutes a time. So it was I got to work. I got a bunch of guys that I'm running around and clients that I'm going to meetings, and I'm doing this in the truck. I've got I don't drive with generally I drive with my left hand, but I've got it sitting on the side of the door there doing my exercises everywhere I go. So I rapidly started progressing, and actually the lady said I have to wear this for at least a month. She was on me every time. Well, the next week I went in there without it on, and she just freaked. Oh gosh, they were screaming, "What are you doing? You're gonna destroy it!" He comes in laughing, and he's like, "All right, let me see your progression." So I'm doing. He's like, they both looked at each other like, "Whoa, like you're not supposed to be doing this."
Oh, sweet.
So I'd really started progressing quick, and with that, just that little bit of news, I knew that I was on the right track where I needed to be. So it was just getting in it every day, and getting back.
So I want to circle back to that question I had earlier.
Yeah.
People go through traumatic things, and getting bitten by a shark not once but twice has a way of like getting inside a person's head. because it's a very, not only, it's a very real danger. This is not something that's hypothetical anymore. You've experienced not once, but twice.
Yeah.
And each time with lasting consequences.
Yeah.
Your hands, it doesn't look right.
Yeah.
It looks dang good.
Yeah, it does. It looks, yeah, it looks good for sure.
It doesn't move quite right. It's just lasting, and you went through a traumatic experience. How do you cope with, what's your belief? What do you tell yourself? Because you're getting back in the water, and that's a scary thing.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me that, and I go back to just my foundations and what, a lot of people say, gosh, well, you should never go back in the water again. You should never do this. You should never do that. And I'm like, look, for one, it's not I am jumping in their home, right? I'm jumping in their front bedroom, so that's the first thing. But more importantly,
which is a reason not to do it.
Yeah, but I don't know if I can't tell you I'll never do it.
People
I'll be
say
back
that
in the
to
water.
me about grizzly bears, and stuff like that. I've never been bitten by one, but people
when you
are.
Charged a couple
right?
times. It's like, what are you doing, you nuts? And
what are you doing?
Whatever. You might want to call me that.
Yeah.
But I took the experience, and I was, as crazy as it sounds, I was thankful. It grounded me for a time to really focus on, what's going on. There were some things going on in my life that I need to get my head back in gear. And this was something that it did it immediately. Mm-hmm. It wasn't
as a way of resetting priorities.
Yeah, just resetting some stuff, and
that's really important to me.
Yeah, and I started looking at it, my health and this and some mental stuff that I was struggling with, and I got back in the game, and here I am, and it's time to work now. It's time to focus and get right, not just live this life that man, this is an awesome thing we have here. It's such a gift, and I try to live every day to the fullest, and it was just another one of those things. I was so, hey, I can tell another story. I knew I was going to be fine, right?
Yeah.
This is just a cool story I could tell. Was it crazy? Could I have lost my hand? Could I have lost my life? Yeah, there's a lot of things that could have happened, but I'm so thankful that I'm able to do what I do, and I would never stop that. And I never let anything hold me back from those kind of
What happens when you're in the water, dude, and you're looking down and it's deep, and you're like, what are you telling yourself in that moment?
I had, after the first bite, I moved out to Hawaii. I had an opportunity to move out to Hawaii. I was doing a lot of surfing competitions around here, and I was winning some stuff. So we ran out there, and when you go out to Hawaii, you're surfing with big sharks. So here we are. That sets it sets situations up where you're surfing with man-eaters now.
Yeah.
These are tigers. These are people, and people get eaten every year out there. Not just their legs. They miss legs, but generally there's at least a couple people that die out in the Hawaiian Islands every year from shark attacks. But I wasn't going to let it stop me. I live by, I live through faith, and yes, I have been bitten, and people are like, well, isn't that a sign? I'm like, what it was for me was resetting me, and every time that's happened, it's been a little pause in my and gosh, it's tightened me right up and got me where I thought that I needed to be, so where I wanted to be. Maybe there's some things I was struggling with, but man, it got me right back in line, and here I go. But yes, it did mess with my mind. I would be lying if I told you it didn't, but I didn't allow it to get to me for long. I didn't dwell on it. There were some times that there were some days that I struggled with it worse than others. I was like, you get that little, you get the chill sometimes. You're sitting there and you're like, whoo, that's kind of what it's like. First time I saw a few big sharks, I got a little unnerving. I got out of the water and sat there and I'm like, man, I can't live my life like this. I got to go. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's my time to go. And I love being able to live my life like that. But I can't live my life like that if I didn't have the foundation and the beliefs that I have.
I think it's interesting because we live in a world where people think they want 100% security.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't want to do like they're not tolerant of risk.
Yeah.
Especially physical risk and danger. There's a subset of the population that definitely is thrill seeking and takes chances.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's guys addicted to that stuff.
And that's living life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, like weighing a risk, taking a calculated risk, that's part of living.
It
right?
is.
Like,
it absolutely is.
If you look back before modern man, every day was a risk. Nothing's guaranteed. Even 100 years ago, 300 years ago, it was a different, you had a risk of dying all the time.
Yeah.
And
man, you could jump in your car tomorrow.
And people kind of were like, they just knew it.
Yep.
And they didn't keep them from getting on a boat and didn't keep them from sailing the ocean and exploring, America or whatever,
that spirit,
right? Like,
man. Yeah.
I read Daniel Boone and I'm like, dude.
He was one of my favorite guys.
Like, what he did was unreal, and he took chances and he lived life.
That's right.
I look around and I see a culture, where we're in our country, where people are, they're just really against danger, and I just feel like there needs to be a little bit of that in your life to be human.
Yeah, I think to get anything done and push yourself is a good way to explain. To push yourself I don't want to be held back by fear of anything. There's calculated risk, right? There's certain things that's just an absolute ridiculous thing to do. But if I enjoy surfing, if I enjoy going up in Alaska and on the rivers to fish and in the backcountry to hunt, moose or what it is, and being alongside grizzlies that'll eat you in a heartbeat. But if I live my life worried about that, I just think you're chaining yourself up you're not living, and I don't live my life like that, and I'm just very fortunate that I can have that mindset. And it's something you practice, man. You don't, this is not something that just
I've
happens.
said this.
Let's do it.
I've said this before, people who seek 100% this idea of safety.
Yeah.
When they seek it to such an extreme, or where they want safety to such a level, I think that I'll say even to my wife or my kids, be careful. Be careful, because that safety that you're so desperate to have might come in the form of a cage.
Yeah.
It might stop you from actually living a life.
Yeah.
We get so caught up on a retirement and having security, quote unquote, or this certain job, so you're safe. And it's like, no, you're not safe. You're not safe.
Yeah, that's
that company could go under tomorrow. You could die next month of cancer. Like, a lot of good that savings did for that retirement. You know what I mean? It's like, just live life, man. Take some chances and live bold.
I think that's huge. That's the way I do live on the wild side a little bit. I push things sometimes, but if I didn't do that, I would drive myself crazy because I love to hunt. That's something we share, right?
Yeah.
I think all of our buddies are you could say this, that there's something about being out there and doing that, taking those risks to make it happen.
Oh yeah. I think your risks are not for me.
Man.
Not for me.
You haven't been born around the ocean, so that was an everyday thing for me, right?
True.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in the mountains.
I was saying you climb all the time.
I've done some rock climbing.
We just looked up at that mountain, and you say you hike up there.
I've climbed
some risks,
some trees and cut off the tops of them. I do like risk.
Yeah.
I've swam some lakes, and I've swam for hours and hours at a time out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, the Loch Ness Monster. You never know, man.
There's no. I mean, the biggest thing in that was like a muskie.
There's some big muskies, man. Sharp teeth.
But no, I think that for folks that don't like Mike, I watched the video on his iPhone where he's trying to chase a grizzly bear off of his moose. And I'm just not down with that, dude. I let him have the moose. I just let him have it. You're out there, get off my moose. and he's right in your camp.
He was in
3
camp.
times.
Yeah. That Yukon trip was pretty special, and that was
I'm
the
starting to
last
wonder if
encounter
there's
I
something
had.
wrong with you mentally.
Well,
a little bit.
Yes, I have been told that a numerous amount of times, but it was an opportunity that it was presented. It was that you don't get that opportunity that a grizzly comes sniffing at your door that often.
No.
So dude, this is pretty cool. If I die, then this is not cool. I only had a bow.
It's like Aaron Snyder likes your way of thinking.
Well, it's the only way I like to live. But I did. I went out there. We had to put bells around my moose meat that evening, and gosh, this grizzly was at the front door sniffing under this cook shack that I was staying in. The main guide was over about 50 yards away in his little shack, and he gave me a 300 short mag to keep there. But yeah, that was a cool. That's a whole nother story. It got interesting.
Yeah,
I
got real western, real fast.
Yeah.
It ended up with a dead grizzly.
Yeah.
So
got to do what you got to do, man.
But which was all legal, and
100%.
But it was a cool story. So we'll have to get that one.
Yeah, that's a cool story I got.
But folks, go give Mike a follow on Instagram or whatever. If you're on there, you think you're mostly there, right? You're on Facebook?
I like
Facebook Live.
I do. I am on Facebook.
Personal or like a business one? Or?
It's a personal one. So yeah, I'm probably tapped out. But I go on a lot of adventures. If you like to go see some cool adventures and hang out, Instagram is
great photographer.
Mike Massey 561.
Yeah,
that's what I like to do. If you like cool photography and like seeing stuff and adventures, I'm very fortunate to be able to go on a lot of adventures and enjoy photography. So if you want to live on the wild side a little bit, and come check it out. But get out there, man. Don't be held back by stuff.
And it's at Mike Massey, Massey 561. All one word.
Yeah,
561.
Yep.
Tell me this. In closing.
Yeah.
Right. People are listening. Maybe they're struggling with some fears. Maybe they've been knocked in the, a few times. What's your advice? What's parting advice for people listening that are,
Well, I would say this. Don't let those things hold you back. And then fear is something that can absolutely wreck you. That fear causes stress, everything. It just doesn't lead to good things. Get out there, take the risk, and then more importantly, find out what that truly means to you. Find out what's making you whole. Why is that? Why do you have those fears of that certain thing? And go for it, man. Get out there, and that's why we did. If it's starting a business, or if it's starting to hunt or starting to fish, or I don't care what it is. Take that motto. I think it's done me very well, and I enjoy the heck out of it,
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, my man. It was
All right,
a good
folks.
time.
Thanks for listening, tuning in. Stay gritty. Despite our ever-changing, ever-indignant world with its growing ignorance of and indifference to the ways of the wild, I remain a predator, pitying those who revel in artificiality and synthetic success while regarding me and my kind as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood. I stalk a real world of dark wood and tall grass stirred by a restless wind blowing across sunlit water and beneath star-strewn sky. And on those occasions when I choose to kill, to claim some small part of nature's bounty for my own, I do so by choice, quickly, with the learned efficiency of a skilled hunter. Further, in my heart and mind, I know the truth and make no apologies for my actions or my place in time. Others around me may opt to eat only plants, nuts, and fruits. Still others may employ faceless strangers to procure their meats, their leather, their feathers, and all those niceties and necessities of life. Such is their right, of course, and I wish them well. All I ask in return is no one begrudge me, and all of us who may answer the primordial stirrings within our hunter souls, my right to do some of these things myself. What you just heard is a quote from M.R. James. We truly live in a world that is largely ignorant and indifferent to the ways of the wild, And although some regard us as relics of a time and place no longer valued or understood, we have the opportunity to change the way these people view the hunter and the hunt. We can share our experiences and nature's bounty with those who employ these faceless strangers. And by so doing, we make a difference, not just for ourselves, but for the wild animals in the wild places we care so deeply about. Never stop sharing your passion for hunting and the outdoors. Our wild animals and our wild places depend on it.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to The Gritty Bowman.
Gritty Bowman.